This is the second audition recording of Arcane Savant, Black Sandstorm, Book 1, by Brad McDowell, narrated by Maxine Lennon. Chapter 1. There I was, sitting in the primary library on a break at the end of the day, happy that I was not alone. Magi's start very young, and the Magi's in front of me had been the first years who had been failing their classes. Now, what do we know about our methods? I couldn't help but smile at them with more than a little pride. A little girl with brilliant pink hair raised her hand. "How we see our magic is how it comes out," she said most dutifully. I nodded. "That's right. Perception controls your reality and thus your magic. If you say that you can do it, or you can't do it, you are right in either case." I was talking with my hands being very animated for the little ones. More so, it colours how your magic works. If you are scary, it shows up scary. If you like birds, then the magic makes little birds that fly off and act as your magic. It was true to a point. The manifestation of magic took the forms of things you took to heart. The spells thematic, as it would be called. It always had a core of what magic really was, and all thematics had a black sand composition. I was tutoring them in my off time. These were bright kids with the desire to learn, the struggling few without natural talent, hereditary magic, or the coin for tutors. Failure meant life as a fleeing apostate. I couldn't legally teach magic, but nothing prevented students from sitting down and talking. I have seen the apostate lockups. They are full to bursting. It was all part of a system that was entirely unforgiving in its goal to control the use of magic. If you did not use magic in the way that was thought correct, you would be locked away to keep everyone else safe. It is not something I agree with, and I was doing what I could about it. In truth, I couldn't cast magic either, but it was because of how my magic worked, not for lack of talent. However, I had taken the first-year classes so many times, in so many places, I had the core of method casting down better than the instructors, and I could recite the book from memory. "All right, kids, let's get some practice in." Practice was more me watching them try to cast magic, and I giving points based on what form best suited them. Some of them had real potential and just needed a helping hand. Their magic filled the air with little dragons and butterflies. The inner side of the kids, showing as the thematic of their magic, had made itself known. The black smoke, that was magic taking shapes as it was worked and cast out. It was a few moments after that when one of the smallest came running in. She had been one of the more regular of the students to show up for the tutoring, and had even taken to helping clean up after the whole thing was said and done. "Percy! Percy!" She was a tiny blonde girl who had a talent for the theatrical magic of illusions. She rushed to me and thudded into my leg with all the strength her little body could call on. Swiftly taking a hold of my robe, she tugged on it. "Anna is in trouble!" She said it in that "the world is going to end" frantic manner one does when something really bad is going on. Anna was yet another who attended the little tutoring sessions, but she only visited so often when she needed help with homework. There are some who have only attended once, but you don't turn your back on someone. If a student shows up once, ever, they are all part of the group and often will sit next to you in class. I took a knee to get down on her level. That's one thing I learned in teaching little kids and students who had heart but no talent. You have to get down on their level and be one of them. They take more of what you say to heart. They turn to you and ask the questions that would make them feel stupid in class, but questions that sorely needed to be asked. Her little heart was racing, and she was clearly out of breath from her race to get here to us. The fact she came to us and not one of the guards of the school told me that it had to be something more than someone falling down a staircase. "Take a breath. What happened?" I asked, placing a hand on her shoulder. She gasped a little, as she had apparently been crying quite a bit. There's a big guard that won't let her come. He keeps hurting her." I was right. It was something she could not take to a guard, as a guard would never turn on one of their own. Students stuck together, as did the school guards. When a kid cries, you listen. But when a lady is in trouble, you show up to help. So I stood up and handed the students off to one of the older kids and stalked out like I was 20 feet tall with fists made of stone. When the little one led me to where Anna was, I took a moment to see what was going on. There was indeed a guard that was leaning on her. He had his hand about her neck, but not gripping, more resting on her collarbone, if anything. She kept trying to get away from him and voicing her protest to his attempts to kiss her, and each time she was rewarded with a jerk back and a scolding. The guards had been requested by the local people of the city. Magi's can do some rather interesting things, and kids are very open to the idea of creativity. Give the power of creation to a child, and you will learn something. Children are either very artistic and imaginative, or they are cruel and unyielding. You see, a child can be far more cruel than an adult. The adult at least understands that it is a bad thing they are doing. A child will have no idea that what they are doing is bad until someone takes the time to teach them. It does not hurt them, so it must clearly be a good thing. It relates to an idea called a phaneron. It is your mind's translation of the world around it, using its own senses. To the kid, turning you into a toad didn't hurt, so it must be an interesting thing. You are clearly not telling them not to do it, as you are just sitting there going, "Ribbit, ribbit." The guards are present and taught to fight Magi's for just such problems. One kid with the power of creation gets out of hand, he tends to get kicked and beat a bit until he understands doing bad things hurt. It isn't my system, nor do I agree with it, but we deal with what we must. The guard himself was a brute of a man, standing near 7 foot tall and wide enough to fill a door frame. He wore part of his armour that the guards normally had, but the legs looked a bit off. They had some copper tubing and pistons that spat out a little bit of steam every now and then. Old tech, but likely it meant he could jump a few times his own height. Steam technology is fairly common, having been given to us by the nomads. It is used to plug the gap for those who cannot do magic. The guards use it from time to time in their armour and weapons, to avoid being blown to bits by an angry student. Hard to zap a target that can jump off the walls at high speeds. Now, I don't think of myself as a great warrior. Hell, I was a magi who's extremely skilled with a form of magic that I didn't even want. But my mother was not just a military general. She was the military general. She was the primary general of the Queen's Army and head of the advanced tactical forces. I was not happy that her training had given me scars, but she wanted her son to be able to fight. She had her own scars from my attempts to survive her. Her mother's love helped me learn to fight, but I was still no good at it. However, when she found out I had an eye for using darts, she trained me so hard that I could hit coins tossed in the air at good distance. It's a skill that I used way too much by throwing inkwells across rooms, and it won me a great amount of coin making bets while in school. So I opened up my rubber dart pack that I used for practice, and with a flick of my wrist, I plugged up the guard's ear with a dart. It took no more effort or concentration than it would take someone to raise their arm. My aim was beyond perfect. It was as natural as breathing. There are many reactions people can have, and when it comes to things around your head, you tend to freak out. Ever walk into a spider web you did not see, and you instantly become a master of martial combat as you swing your arms about, trying to fend off the spider that is now clearly crawling on your head? That was what I was counting on. Control a man's perception, and you control the man. Make him freak out, and his "I'm going to kill you" turns into a "run away." As luck would have it, Tiny, the guard, did not disappoint me in the slightest. The big man slapped at his ear, thus lodging my dart in deeper, and jerked away. Anna took the opportunity to dash down and away. Smart girl. Not to be outdone, I started moving. I stepped out of my standard Magi issue slippers and started spinning in place barefoot. Like I said, Mom was a general, and she taught her boy to survive. She did not see each form of combat as a style unto itself. War was her style, and she saw all forms of fighting as just small parts of one big whole. I had gone from a dead throw to a rapid-fire gypsy dance. Not very manly, but hey, if the girls know you can dance, you tend to get to dance with them more at gatherings. I had 6 more game darts, and they flew 2 at a time. Everyone seems to think that having armour or being tough is a great boon. The truth is, you always have soft bits. If armour protected you perfectly, you would be in a giant metal ball, and you could not see or move. You have to have joints, places to see, ways to get air to the guy in the armour. Even someone who is extremely tough still has soft bits. A hardened criminal who has killed 30 men and can have nails hammered through his hands without so much as flinching will still react badly to having a dart put into his eye. Or you can mess with his breathing. There is always something you can do to make an immovable object at least turn. Tiny, however, wore only his armoured pants. That left me all sorts of nice targets, but staying with the head, I went for the skin around his eyes and even got one into his mouth, causing him to start hacking and nearly retching in response. Taking advantage of the moment, I ran at him. Upon seeing me, he started trying to get away, but I jumped and kicked him right in the chest with both feet. I didn't have to fight him, just used his weight and responses against him. I may not be the largest guy, but all of my body weight and the force of both legs going into his chest, above his centre point of gravity, was enough to send him flying. Tiny came down hard and started scrambling away. Once he got traction, he launched himself down the hall like a frog. It gave me a chance to collect my darts. It was a game set, and they are not cheap. By the time I'd collected all of my ammunition, he had already managed to get down the hall and around a corner. Though I could still hear the lub thud of his enhanced running. Steam power really did a number when it came to bringing a normal guard up to the point he could fight a Magi. If he had had on his full suit of armour, I wouldn't have stood a chance, but as it were, I had the upper hand in all ways. Once I stood up, 2 sets of arms came around me. At first I thought it was one of the other guards who didn't see the disgraceful behaviour of the first. However, the fact that the second set was a pair of tiny arms about my hips assured me it was all right. "Thanks for helping my sister," the little one said. The gratitude of a kid is not something that you can just be stone-faced at. It makes me wonder at the pride of a parent sometimes. "Hero," Anna said in a cheerful voice. She was a bit of a funny one. I guess that was why I liked having her help in the tutoring. She kept kids entertained. Somehow I wound up in the middle as the 2 took a hand each. Not many people knew, but they were sisters. Anna coloured her hair a bright red so you couldn't see the blonde, but I noticed her roots one time and asked. It was nice just to take it slow. Holding someone's hand tended to prevent my own hands from shaking. My hands are calm as a rock during a fight, and even before a fight, but after the fact I am nothing but shakes. "Thank you for saving me," the elder sister said as the younger beamed. "It's no problem. Wouldn't have been able to do it if not for the little one." It was kind of her nickname at this point. Her real name was Abby, I think. "Where did you learn to fight? That was some strange tactic," Anna asked with a raised eyebrow. I gave her the most hard look I could muster. Time in a prison cell can change a man. She and I burst out laughing when I couldn't hold a face. The little one was lost in the joke. "There is a group of people that roam and report information as they see it to the Queen. Mom had me train with them for a year. They have this odd little dance that if you're using darts, the energy to your throw goes way up. As well, if you do it enough and get used to the dance, you gain all-round vision and can throw your darts as you need." She made an "ah" sound and gave me a look of approval. We made it back in time to see one of the students give a rather distressed mouse a unique transformation from mouse to a frog to a guinea pig and then a garden snake chimera. which then saw fit to play Catch Me If You Can. I like to think that it was trying to save itself, but couldn't make up its minds, given it now had 3 heads, so it settled for Run Like Hell. After a few more lessons on casting methods, it was time to pack up. "So are you coming to the party tonight? End of semester and everyone is going to be there." Almost as if they had been one mind, they all assaulted me with requests that I attend. One even offered to spike the drinks with what he called stealth alchemy. I smiled, and with laughter in my voice I attempted to calm them. "I'll be there. Just gotta go talk to the dean. End of semester evaluation. I was late getting into the school this semester, so I'm near the end of the line. I'll see you all there." Anna's little sister hugged me about the hips, as Anna gave me a smile. Getting to the Dean's Hall was no major issue, but they had guards at the entrance. The Dean's Hall had often been used for a number of things. It was more like a feast hall than anything else. White stone surrounded large dark wooden doors that had an old forged iron fitting at the edges, so it looked like it came from the stories of old. Given the position of the dean, I really do not blame him for choosing the largest of the halls to make his place of work. He often taught classes himself, and the place would be packed at times. Upon seeing an odd welcome committee, I shot my mouth off. Is it common to have you guys here, or am I just that special? It's just a verbal exam. The older of the trio raised an eyebrow. It's not an exam. It's an expulsion hearing. This has been the second audition recording of Arcane Savant, Black Sandstorm, Book 1, by Brad McDowell, narrated by Maxine Lennon.